Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me out there? It's been a long time since we had a meeting here. A lot of years. So anyway, the board has already met in executive session and we saluted the flag. So at this point, we're going to have the roll call. Mr. Crute.
Thank you. Mr. Salmon. Ms. Schaefer.
Here.
Ms. Gray.
Here.
Ms. Singh.
Here.
Ms. White.
Here.
Ms. Light. Mr. Khanna.
Here.
Ms. Hira.
Here.
Ms. McCune.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. I'm just going to quickly go through part of the statement of public notice. This is a regular meeting of the Board of Education, and notice of the time and place was advertised as per the law. For those members of the public who are unable to attend the meeting in person, a live stream link of the meeting is posted on the district website. We very much welcome input from the public. There are 2 times during regular meetings that the public is invited to speak. The first time is early in the meeting before the board votes, when you may speak about any item that is listed on tonight's agenda. Towards the end of the meeting, there is another public forum to address any matter of public concern related to the schools. When you approach the microphone, please state your name and address. Each statement made by a participant shall be limited to 3 minutes duration. Nobody can speak more than once during a given public comment session. As a courtesy to those individuals unable to attend our meetings in person, public comment may be made remotely through Zoom. The instructions are on the district website, and the link is also in this agenda. Public comments made in person will be processed first, and then comments via Zoom. No public comments will be accepted before 7 p.m. or after the last item board forum of the agenda begins. Please understand that public comment portions of our agendas are not structured as question and answer sessions, but rather they are offered as opportunities to share your thoughts with the board. The board or administration will respond to public comments to the extent possible. Any board responses to public comments will be generally addressed during board forum or during committee reports. However, all comments are considered and will be investigated and addressed as appropriate. Please be courteous and mindful of the rights of others when speaking. Comments may not be abusive, obscene, threatening, or irrelevant. Please understand that students and employees have specific legal and privacy protections. The board is not permitted to respond in public to comments about students and employees. Please also understand that the board will not be responsible for the content of comments made by members of the public. Members of the public are cautioned that they are speaking at their own risk, and any personally directed statements they make may subject them to legal liability to the affected individual. If it's necessary for us to go into executive session at the end of the meeting, we will provide an estimated length of time for the session and whether any action is anticipated to be taken upon returning to the public session. Okay, at this point, we're up to our student representatives. We actually have Petra and Kyle Swan, who is the vice president, here tonight.
Good evening, everyone. This is a special night as my vice president, Kyle Swan, will be sitting here with me in order to get a grasp on the Board of Ed meetings prior to the start of my ski season, where he will likely be filling in for me at some of the meetings.
All right, so good evening to Petra, to the Board of Ed, and to everyone in the audience. Like they both said, my name is Kyle Swan, and I'm the vice president for the school, or the student school-wide vice president, and I've met with a number of you before as class senator. I think it's been a productive, continual relationship, and I look forward to furthering that. In addition to student government, a little bit about me. I play lacrosse. I participate in a few clubs, ranging from Fed Challenge, Business Club, Project Adventure Peer Leaders. And I'm looking forward to this meeting ahead of us and those in the future when Petra is unable to be here. So thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. I am sure you will be an excellent substitute in my absence. As the mornings get colder and we start needing to turn on our cars 10 minutes before we leave, we're just transitioning into our marking period too. The English department successfully completed the trip to the Dodge Poetry Festival, which both Kyle and I attended. Make-A-Wish Club completed their walkathon on the 29th. College representatives have been in and out of our doors as the first few deadlines have finally passed. As well, we had picture retakes for both lanyards and senior portraits over the last week. Sign up to get your student's yearbook now, as the link has just been released. Donate food to the Key Club's Thanksgiving Drive through November 23rd. The American Mathematics competition will be held at Ridge High School on November 16th. Katie's crew is collecting toys for the oncology kids at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. Ridge Speech and Debate found a lot of success in the Scarsdale and CFL competitions in past weekends, with 6 students placing first in their event. The class of 2024 had a mock SAT on October 30th, and Ridge hosted its real SAT the following weekend. The class of 2026 had its first round of merchandise for sale, and the class of 2024 has a Chick-fil-A fundraiser ongoing. Later this week, the Ridge Drama Club will be presenting their iteration of The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime on Friday and Saturday at 7 p.m. As well, Ridge students will see a couple scenes from this show on Wednesday, our Wellness Day. During the Wellness Day, students will watch a presentation from their assistant principal, participate in wellness activities in smaller groups, and have a study hall period. The student government will be using the study hall period to finish decorating bulletin boards. Additionally, we are preparing for our upcoming volleyball tournament as well as the general winter season. Because the fall season is coming to an end, interest meetings for winter sports have transpired, preparing for the upcoming season. In terms of recent winnings, Ridge Cheer placed first in both its divisions at Spooktacular and the Somerset County Championship. Green and white, go Devils. Ridge Boy Cross Country placed fifth in the New Jersey Meet of Champions and is the third best public school in cross country. The boys soccer team tied in their first round of the NJSIAA tournament. The girls field hockey team lost their first game in their semifinal. Throughout the entire season, they had not lost a single game until they put up a very valiant fight against Hillsborough. The football team also lost in their semifinal round against Ramapo. The girls soccer team lost their quarterfinal round to Westfield. The girls tennis team lost in their semifinal round, but went on to win a few more matches before the close of their season. The girls volleyball team also lost in the quarterfinal round against Westfield. The gymnastics team recently won a tournament in Summit, but sadly lost their in-season tournament. The marching band hosted Marching Madness on October 17th. Overall, these teams have been doing exceptionally well this year and have made us extremely proud. Following our signing day last week, we want to celebrate and congratulate our Ridge athletes moving forward in their academic and athletic endeavors. Switching tones, I want to highlight some of the major concerns of Ridge students, as presented to me in an anonymous Google form. Last week, Dr. Lazovic and I published our first Ridge report, which you can find on last week's Friday folder. Students are highly concerned about religious holidays. Extending homework and delayed tests are mandatory if a student has a religious holiday, but many students are unaware of this protocol, and other students are concerned why Eid does not have a day off. Another concern of students is the dress code, which we are taking actions to see if we can or want to make change to. I think the largest school-wide concern is the state of the restrooms. As many know, we have had a terrible issue with the restrooms last year, where a really small group of students vandalized utilities, causing the entire restrooms to shut down until our sole wonderful maintenance personnel could fix them. We don't want for Ridge to feel like a prison and station even more monitors on the restroom, and we know that the majority of our population is clean, respectful, and trustworthy, but a small group of students make this very difficult. Overall, watching the close of Marking Period 1, we are so very proud of all Ridge students, not just the athletes. Students have made the adjustment to coming back to school very well. Other than the small group of students who have had issues with vandalism, the majority of our school is extremely respectful to teachers and the school itself. We wish everyone an easy transition into the second marking period. Thank you, and thank you, Kyle, for coming tonight.
Thank you, Petra. Does anyone have any questions? We look forward to scheduling a meeting with you guys with the student government. I know Mr. Markarian was going to reach out to Dr. Lazovic about when we can have that meeting, and I'm sure we can follow up on some of these items there. So thank you. Okay, at this point, I just want to welcome everyone who's here. We have a board presentation, so the board is going to go down below to see that. It's an exciting one for me because I love this program, the instructional coaching program, and we had a presentation here years ago, Mr. Syed, a long time, about this program, and I think it's something that I feel is very valuable, and I have always been in support of expanding it, so I think everyone here will be very interested to hear about it. We're going to move down below.
Good evening, everybody. This brings back memories. We haven't been in the William Madden Auditorium in some time, so it's nice to be here. It's nice to see everybody here for this presentation. It has been 2 years since we presented on this topic. This is our instructional coaching program. We talked last, although we weren't in person, we talked in October of 2020 about this program, and some of the folks that you hear from tonight were there for that presentation. So at that point, in October 2020, we were speaking more about how the instructional program was helping to support teachers as we made that transition through the pandemic. So tonight, you'll be able to hear about the full program and hear about some of the benefits for our instructional staff. I'll speak to some of the benefits from a recruiting and from a retention standpoint, and certainly give folks an opportunity to answer questions. So I'm Sean Syatt. I'm the Assistant Superintendent. I want to also introduce some amazing folks that I have the pleasure of working with, and have also been working with many of our staff members. So I'll turn it over to Ms. Daglian.
Thank you. I am Vicki Daglian. I have been in education for 16 years. It's my 8th year in the district. I have taught first and second grade, and then I moved into a K through 5 technology role, and I became a coach in 2019.
Hi everyone, my name is Chiara Kupiak. I've been an educator for 19 years, and 17 of those years I've been here in district. I've taught Spanish and Italian, all levels from 6th through 12th grade all the way up to the AP level. My journey as an instructional coach started in 2013 here in district, first as a part-time coach, and then in 2019 I became a full-time coach.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Kaltenbach. I have been an educator for 26 years, 15 years in this district, and I just started as an instructional coach this past fall. I taught biology and environmental science at the 9th through 12th grades, all levels, all the way up through AP levels when I was actually in the classroom.
Thank you. So pretty impressive credentials. So what we're going to talk about tonight is, first, what is instructional coaching? Why does it benefit the district? Why is it so important to have? We'll talk about what the process is like to give you a flavor for it. And then I think what's most interesting is to hear about some of the scenarios. Why would a teacher be reaching out to an instructional coach? What kinds of things might they be working on? So you'll hear about that. And then finally, we'll also talk a little bit about looking forward, what we might see in the future with our coaching program. So, let's start with the timeline quickly. In fact, Kiara referenced it. We were actually going through it today, and I can't believe how 12 years has gone by. The previous assistant superintendent who left in 2011 really grew this program with Dave Yastrzemski, who is one of our amazing ELA teachers at Ridge High School, also the forensics coach. It was really his idea. The idea of providing additional layers of support for instructional staff beyond just supervisors and assistant principals. So a non-evaluative way that instructional staff could receive direction, could receive guidance, could receive some additional strategies from a colleague. And so the goal was to help teaching staff, initially just teaching staff. That's how it started in 2010, 2012. The problem was, when we started the program, we had what we called part-time coaches. So these were coaches that were teaching, and they were coaches. So what you'd see is you'd have teachers who were teaching at the secondary level 3 or 4 fifths, right? So they were teaching 3 or 4 classes and had one release period where they could teach. Well, some of the challenges you could imagine, they were only available during that period they weren't teaching. So it limited their impact because they could only meet with teachers during that open period. So the program didn't really take off. It had a limited impact. There weren't a lot of opportunities to meet with teachers because of the limited time that they were available. So what slowly evolved was we went from having one coach who was a part-time coach to then 3 secondary part-time coaches. These were folks that had 2 fits release, meaning they had 2 periods that they were able to meet with folks. These were folks from all areas. We had one of our folks up here, Kiara, was working. We had an ELA teacher. We also had a math teacher who went on to be a supervisor, actually, work in that role as well. And again, worked really nicely. The program was growing, still limited primarily to secondary, although they did go down and help at the elementary level, but again, still limited by their schedule And so the impact on teachers was limited, but again, very positive feedback. There were lots of opportunities to meet with teachers during those free periods. Then in 17-18, we shifted to only having one secondary coach because some of those other folks wanted to go back into the classroom or left to go into administration. And it was really at 17-18 that was the turning point, because the one coach went on leave, and we decided that when they came back, they said, look, it was just too much to be a part-time coach, part-time teacher. We either had to look at making a full-time coaching position or abandon the program, because we felt like we couldn't do either really, really well. We had to look at the efficacy of the program and also look at model programs around the state. Take a look at other instructional coaching programs, which is what we did in the 18-19 school year. And it was really this iteration you see today of the coaching program was thanks in part to the support of the Board of Education and also lots and lots of professional development on the part of some of our coaches who are working in the program. And so in the 2019 school year, just in the nick of time, might I add, right before the pandemic, we brought on Kiara and Vicky, and they were, as you heard, if you recall from the presentation in October 2020, they were integral along with a team of staff, and Kristen Fox, and many others, who really helped us get prepared for the pandemic and to virtual instruction. Happy to say that we were able to shift out of the pandemic, and they were able to start meeting in person with teachers, and that's really where we saw the impact of the program grow. You're going to see some metrics tonight, actually. You'll see just how many staff they were able to connect with and reach. And then finally, this past year, we added our third coach, so we now have a dedicated elementary and 2 secondary coaches.
So before we go any further, we want to share a definition of instructional coaching with you. And you can see it on the screen behind me. If you were to look at instructional coaching online and research a definition of it, you'd find lots of different definitions, depending on where you looked and whose definition you read. The definition that we go by is kind of an amalgamation of several different experts. We've done a lot of reading and a lot of training. Elena Aguilar and Jim Knight are 2 experts who we have studied under their trainings, and we have read a lot of their articles. And so we follow a lot of their practices in our coaching procedures and in the types of coaching that we do. And so this definition kind of embodies all of that. Some of the common characteristics that you'll find in any definition of coaching, however, are things like providing job-embedded, personalized professional development. That's key for other teachers, that it's very personalized for what the teacher needs, and that's a common thread to coaching. Encouraging teachers to do whatever they need to support their students. That's a common thread for coaching programs. And so whatever the definition is, that is the common thread that runs through all of them. So now that we have a more general definition, we'll now speak in more detail about the benefits of the coaching program.
I missed the handheld mic. Okay, all right. So let's talk about some benefits of the program, just to build off what Jed had mentioned there. And I think the key here is we've for a long time had a pretty robust professional development program. You might have heard in the past we've given presentations on, for instance, Staff College, which is our homegrown professional development academy. We have courses that we offer for our staff, not just teachers, for all of our staff, on a whole host of areas taught by teachers and administrators. That's great, but that tends to be more generalized, meaning it's for large groups of staff. It's not one-on-one. And so really one of the benefits of instructional coaching is it really is one-on-one, meaning it's directed by a staff member. And again, as I mentioned to start the presentation, initially this program was for teachers, but it's now expanded to all areas of the school system. So that could be secretaries, it could be administrators, it could be teachers, it could be any staff member, it could be guidance counselors. So the nice thing about it is it's self-directed, it's something that comes from the staff member saying that there may be something I want to work on, learn more about, refine, I want some feedback on something I'm trying, and this is where the coach might come into play. And so again, the term that I use sometimes when I'm talking to folks about the program is it's custom professional development, meaning I'm really customizing the what and the why. What am I being trained on, or what do I want to learn more about? Why do I want to learn more about it? And that's that conversation that the staff member has with the coach. And so one of the key characteristics of our coaches is they have to be approachable. Luckily, the three of you are. And, again, really easy to work with and easy to communicate with. The other thing that's nice we can all relate to is the idea that it's on demand. We talk about that a lot. It's when I want it, where I want it, meaning if there's something I want to work on, I'm reaching out anonymously to work with one of the coaches and learning more about whatever that strategy is. You'll hear more about some examples. And then that's done on my time, the period that works best for me, the time of day that works best for me. Might be early morning before the day starts, might be after school, or it could be during a prep period, for example. Again, I'm determining that as the staff member. And so timely, something I want to work on immediately. There's a strategy, and I know one of the frustrations our coaches have, to their credit, is there's only 3 of them, they're busy. And so sometimes for them, they're frustrated that they can't get to the teacher necessarily same day, even though they know that that teacher has something that's really important, and that's to their credit. But the key characteristic, too, is that it's a peer-to-peer program. It's not evaluative. They're not being evaluated by any of the 3 coaches. It's another layer of support for the staff member. And then one of the things that I talk about, and that really separates us from other districts when we talk about recruitment, is this program. Because one of the things that you see from brand new teachers as we go out and recruit is they're very nervous about the observation and evaluation process. That can be overwhelming. It can be intimidating. One of the things that I will bring up with folks is this program. Very few districts have it in the state of New Jersey. It's a credit to this district. It's an unbelievable program. We have districts contacting us about this program. And when I speak to new teacher candidates, the fact that they know they have this support system, and you'll hear about how they make connections with new teachers to ensure that they have the supports they need before their first observation and evaluation. And there's not that level of anxiety that you potentially have. Again, trying to address that area of teacher burnout early. And we try to do that really from new staff orientation, or even from pre-onboarding the staff member when I talk to them about the program. The other piece, too, is that it's also, once the person gets here, a tool for our staff. So they have a place to go to seek support on an instructional tool or strategy. And it's also, again, something that maybe they don't have time to go out and learn about a strategy, or they don't want to give up and go to a conference, right? They don't want to take that day and leave their classroom to their credit. Well, one of the coaches can help them learn about a strategy, and that they can bring the PD to them so they're not missing time with students. One of the other things I forgot to mention that you would probably remind me that I forgot, which is we're putting quotes embedded throughout this presentation. Again, not expecting you to read it because I know it can be tough to see on the screen, but we'll post this on the website. This is feedback from teachers or staff members that have worked with our coaches. They're submitting this feedback, so I think it gives you a nice flavor for the program, a little bit of a lens into how folks feel about it. And so they're embedded throughout the presentation. I should have mentioned that at the beginning. I apologize. And so that's some of the benefits, and I know Kara's going to touch on a couple more.
Yes, thank you. So as you can see, obviously already you can probably just deduce from what some of the benefits that Sean has covered. One of the really main general benefits that covers a lot of what we do is staff wellness, because the staff really sees us as their go-to people, right? The go-to person. They know they can always come to us for anything. As Sean mentioned, first of all, because it's a non-evaluative program. They know they can come to us. They know we are teachers. We are their equal. So that really helps. Our door is always open. They'll see us in the hallway. They'll see us popping into the classroom if they need help with anything. So we really are that go-to support that's really 24/7, and it truly is. Also, this program and the way we really run it and the way we initiate and we create a rapport with the teachers, it's all about eventually really empowering and inspiring the teachers. We do it in a way that through our conversation, through our guided conversation, through our guided reflection, which I know Vicki is going to talk to you more about later, the teachers really get to a point where they come with solutions their own. And we make sure that they realize that. We'll never go to an appointment with a teacher and give an idea and say, here, do this. We will guide them through a way that's going to really inspire them to want more, to do more. In fact, the 3 of us just met with an elementary teacher this past week, and it was the ultimate point for us of coaching, because after meeting with this teacher twice, I first met by myself with her, and then Vicki and Jed joined me. At that meeting, she said, after meeting with you guys a couple of times, I already feel good. I feel like the students are in a good place. This is good. And then she followed that by saying, but it's not good enough. You guys are really inspiring me. All your questions are really making me think of all the potential that I have in this classroom and how much my students can do. So I'm not going to stop here. Let's make another appointment. So that's what this second bullet really speaks to, empowering and inspiring the teachers. And then one of our biggest benefit is to create spaces and opportunity for collaboration. And again, I know Vicky is going to speak to you specifically about events that we are running right now, events that we have planned in the past, where we create spaces for teachers to collaborate, to work together, to share ideas, to brainstorm. Because, obviously the teachers during the daily, they have a very busy schedule, and it is difficult on their own to come up with the spaces, and that's one of the benefits that we've seen have grown over time. So these are the benefits in general. Now you're really going to get to learn more about the specific of the process, and Vicky's going to talk to you about how to work with one of us.
So to work with a coach, the staff member would initiate contact via email. They can visit our website, and what's a great benefit is they can just come to us directly. If they see us in the hallway, they see us in our office, they can come to us and ask us directly. At that point, we would set up a meeting. It would be when is best for the teacher, whether it's, again, what Sean said, during their lunch, during their prep, before or after school, whatever works for them. We go to them, we travel to them, we really try to make it as easy as possible for them. At that point, the initial meeting will take place, and there we'll discuss what they're interested in working on together. We'll get a lot of information. As coaches, like Kiara said, we will spend a lot of time asking questions. A lot of our training is focused on asking the right questions and getting teachers to tell us what they want and what they need, and we will never tell them what they need and what they want. And through those questions, we'll get a lot of information, and collaboratively, we'll come up with a plan of action, to meet their goals and their needs. And then the third phase would be when the plan is implemented. So this can look a lot of different ways. So it can be through observations, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about, what it can look like, but we'll meet together, we'll work together, and that really establishes the foundation for our working relationship. And then after that, the relationship develops more and more. Sometimes we work with a teacher and that's it, and we walk away, and we really want it to happen organically. We never force teachers to meet with us. So sometimes it's, we meet once and they're great, and we walk away. Sometimes that relationship really forms, and we're meeting weekly, monthly, bi-weekly with these teachers. And that is built on trust and getting to know each other and getting to know the working relationship and how we can work together. And that's sort of where that coaching relationship develops. So we're going to talk a little bit now about our roles and responsibilities as coaches. So first, as a classroom supporter, we will be, as Sean mentioned, someone that can do non-evaluative feedback, give non-evaluative feedback, and do observations in the classroom. After observing someone in the classroom, we can provide them with feedback, we can co-teach with them, we can model lessons, so we can support them in any way that they need us to in the classroom. Sometimes it's, I really want to try something new, I'm a little nervous, can you be an extra body in the classroom? Absolutely. I'm trying to get my small group started, and I really think it would be great if I had someone else in the classroom there supporting the students. Can you join me? Absolutely. And then as a mentor, we do have an amazing mentorship program in our district, and we like to be there to support teachers after they've left their mentorship program as well. And as a mentor, we can listen, and we can provide that wellness piece for teachers, because sometimes, as we all know, we just need someone to listen to us. We need to feel heard. And we can do that for teachers. We can be that safe space for them when they need to talk, when they need to just talk through something even. We are new teacher partners, and this is probably one of my favorite aspects of the job, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later. But we are ongoing partners with the new teachers. And then another role is a tech integration specialist. And we work with teachers to try new technology in their classrooms. We provide training, support for them with new technology, whether it's through video tutorials or in-person tutorials. And if there's something new, a teacher can approach us and say, I'm really looking to, find a new way to get feedback from my students, but I want to incorporate technology. Can you help me find a resource where I can do that? And, that's where we come in. We can do the research, or we know certain tools offhand that we can use, and we can help the teacher start implementing in their classroom. And then one of our roles is a school leader and catalyst for change. So we do hear a lot of student and teacher needs first. When they're coming to us to talk to us confidentially, we're hearing what they need, and sometimes we're able to take those things and present them to administration in a way that can elicit change, positive change. We are advocates for the teachers, but we are advocates for the students. We want to make sure that the students' voices are being heard through us as well, and we can sort of help make that change happen.
So we're also partner in learning, and here the keyword is partner because we are learners ourselves. So what does that mean? That we never stop learning. One of our roles and really our responsibility is to keep learning new strategies, to keep researching new strategies so that we can learn together with the teachers and then really bring it back to their classrooms. Which this makes us curriculum and instructional specialists, because by always being up with the new trends in teaching, in education, then we're ready to really take this and bring it into the classroom and bring it to those appointments and really use our knowledge to guide the teachers through their reflection that hopefully will make them implement all these new strategies that we learn. We're resources provider. I know that Vicky already mentioned about with the technology piece, how we can go and do some research. We're also constantly doing this. And if a teacher comes to us with specific student needs, one of our responsibility is to go back and really do research and find resources that that teacher can use specifically in a class with specific student needs or for a specific activity. I've had teachers coming to me and say, I'm working on this project, and give me specific details. I work with groups of teachers in PLC, in professional learning community, where they have a project coming and they wanted to really make sure that they reach out and created different centers, for example, for different type of learners. And I went back and took my time, came up with resources for each center, and then presented to the teacher. And then together we decided how to implement it, because that's really always the key, that we work together with the teacher, because the teachers really know their students and know their students' need and their own way of teaching. We're data coaches. That's something that we really do a lot. We will help and sit down with our colleagues to look at results from formative and summative assessment, and we really look at in a way that's going to give us data then to guide what's coming next, to guide the next planning for the next unit, or to guide, and I'm going to speak specifically to a scenario in a little bit, to really guide the teacher to make changes in the class that are going to improve and master skills for the students. And we're learning facilitators, and again, I'll talk more about this in future slides, but we do facilitate a lot of the PD. So that is something that I know the staff is really starting to look at us as those individuals that are really face-fronting the PD. So these are, we gave them some general ideas. We will go now into some very specific scenario so that you really get an idea what it looks like when we work with the teachers. So the first scenario is actually something that I'm very proud to talk about. I've worked for this past month and a half. I studied this teacher at the high school level. She teaches a junior class, and she reached out to me the second week in September, and she said, I'm teach a pre-AP class, and I'm noticing that the students have some specific weaknesses in some of the skills that I know eventually they're going to need in preparation for the AP and just in general to move on to the next course. She said, I just can't tell. I just don't know where the weaknesses are and where I should start first. I want them to really succeed. So what we did is we sat down together. I asked her so many questions about her ultimate objective, ultimate purpose, observation. I asked her about her students, because that's the thing. When we go into the classroom or into working with the teachers, we might know the teacher well. She might or he might give us a lot of information, but we don't know the students. The teacher knows the students. So that's where we really become partners. So I asked a lot of questions about the students, and we first sat down and created some formative and summative assessment together that would give us some good data. So we did that. She administered the assessments, and then we get and sat down again together. And I helped her and guided her with questions again to really look at the data in a way that would give her exactly what she needed. The information that she needed to, again, make sure that we would master those skills. We decided that the first thing that we were going to work on with the students were writing skills. And we really pinpoint 3 main things about writing skills. And really what she decided that she really wanted to start working was making sure that the students would add details to the writing, and also really support the writing with evidence. So from this, we decided together, we sat down, and I asked a lot of questions. I said, how do you think the students are going to react? Knowing your different groups of students, we literally divided students into different groups. How is this group going to react? How do you think these students are going to react? What will they react best to? What kind of activities? Group activities, individual work, and so on. So after going through all those questions, we together decided that the best thing to do would be to implement what we decided then at the end to call a writing workshop. So we sat together, we planned for probably 2 or 3 days, and we created a writing workshop that now is happening in our class once a week, and then she'll move into twice a week. When we had the plan and the structure, how it was going to work, I went into her class and we co-taught together. So I co-taught with her for an entire day, all of the courses, all of the peers that she taught that course. And together we presented it to the students. We presented the structure, how we worked, so she could also see me model ways to approach the students with a new initiative, a new strategy in the classroom. And now she's doing that every week. The students have been asking, where's Mrs. Cooper coming back? So when I can, I go, but we have a schedule that at least once a month now I go in, and she's doing it on Friday. So the ultimate goal is really to make sure that those students master those skills. So that's an example just to give you an idea of some of the things that we do. Vicky's going to speak to another scenario that we worked on together.
So as an elementary example, I had a teacher approach me looking for some support. This is a newer teacher, and again, like Sean said, we really want to make sure all those supports are in place for our newer teachers. So she approached me for some support. So the first thing that we did was we met and talked about what she needed. Then we went into classrooms of her colleagues. Together, we observed other teachers at her grade level. And at that point, we were able to find some different things that she wanted to integrate back into her classroom. Together, we developed a plan, and part of our plan was that I would be co-teaching, modeling some lessons. At this point, I saw a fantastic opportunity to bring Kiara into the mix. And I knew that it was going to be a longer coaching cycle, and it was going to take it was going to take group effort to make sure that her needs were met and the needs of the students. So I invited Kiara in, and it was really amazing. We did some co-teaching, but when I was modeling, Kiara was able to sit with the teacher and ask her questions, and we called this guided reflection. And Kiara was able to ask her questions. What do you notice about the way Mrs. Daglian is doing this? What does that make you think of? What does that make you want to try? And we were really able to support her every step of the way in meeting her 3 goals that, she established at the beginning of our coaching cycle, and implementing those 3 things in her classroom. And then, now that we have that relationship, we can move forward with other goals that she wants to work on, what she's already stated. So it was really an amazing, collaborative group effort, and I'm so grateful that we are able to work like that as a team. And, grade levels don't really matter, because coaching is coaching, teaching is teaching, and we all have strategies to share.
Okay, so this is the fun part. You're going to really get to see a lot of the events that we run, so Jen's going to start talking to you about that.
Another role that coaches have is in the building of community, and it's one that we take great pride in. This is a huge part of how we support staff wellness. In the beginning of the year, all 3 coaches went into each of our buildings with our candy carts. This was our way to be a facilitator for positivity and to spread our message of optimism. This was our chance to connect with each staff member right away from the very beginning of the year, and to create that rapport and establish those relationships from the first week or so of school. We got to meet the different staff members, greet them, brighten up their day a little bit with some candy, and hopefully then start to establish those relationships that will lead the staff to seeing us as a resource, to someone they can go to in the future for support, for someone they want to try a new idea, or just as a safe space. We continue to build this positive atmosphere all year with small acts of kindness, whether these acts are for one staff member or for building-wide. And you can see in the pictures behind me. And now we'll talk about how we support new staff.
Again, this is sort of my passion. We embarked on a huge project last year, at the end of last year, which was revamping our new staff orientation. We spent a lot of time working together as a team and thinking about what our new staff members need when they come into a district, whether they're new to teaching or new to district. There's always so much to learn. So the first thing that we did was figure out everything that we threw at them, right? And weed through that and decide, what does a new staff member really need to know? And we narrowed it down. We created a new agenda. We added new things to our program, such as tech clinics, where the teachers were able to work with other teachers from our district and learn about the new technology that they would need to use. We had a peer panel, which was probably my favorite event from New Staff Orientation. We had a group of 6 peers that were selected to sit on a panel. You can see that in the middle photo there. And the teachers, it was the very last day, the new staff members were able to ask them any questions. There were no administrators present, no one was present, it was just staff. And, I actually see some of our peer leaders here, and it was a really great experience, I think, for everyone. We were able to support them in other ways with some great breakfasts and snacks. We had a lot of donations, and we really appreciate the support of all of the PTOs that donated to help make some of these things happen. We had welcome gifts for them, as you can see in the first photo, and you can see there's sort of writing on that. We have a social media page, and we use it a lot to sort of make sure that all of our teachers know about all the events that are coming up and the great things that are happening and ways that they can get in touch with us. So if you are so inclined, you can follow us at BTSD_coaches, and you'll see a lot of the great things that we're doing there. Throughout New Staff Orientation, we were able to make that first connection with a student. With a staff member. We're the first faces that they see when they come in. We are their welcome to the district. And I think we did a pretty great job at that. I think everyone really felt welcome, and they knew from that orientation that we were a resource for them and a place that they could go if they needed anything. And then after New Staff Orientation, we periodically reach out. We make that frequent connection. We are checking in with them, specifically at times when we know that they might need more support. For example, before our student growth objectives are due, or before our professional development plans are due, before report cards, making sure that they have all the support that they need even after orientation is over. We also teach a lot of staff college classes, as Sean talked about, professional development classes geared specifically towards new teachers. Specifically, we are doing one this year called Evaluation Made Easy. Evaluation is a huge topic for new teachers. It's something completely new to them, and they're not sure how to enter that world, and we're able to support them. And this year we have a class that, we have many professional development classes that support evaluation, but this year as coaches, we've developed this new class that really support them throughout the entire year. We had our first class before our student growth objectives were due. We'll have another class in January talking about observation, thank you, and then we'll have another class in the spring when we talk about our summative evaluations. Oh, this is me too. So here are our monthly events, and I'm very passionate about these, so I'm sorry if I got a little too animated, but we run events every single year. We try to do them monthly. Obviously, we have coaching appointments too, so those coaching appointments get in the way of all the fun stuff that we are doing. But we're sort of on the path this year. We're trying to do one event that is based on professional development each month, and one event that is just community building. So one of the biggest events that we're really proud of is what we call DoorDash PD. We ran this last year, and we were trying to reach staff members that wanted that professional development, but they just didn't have the time, because who has the time really? So we wanted to bring something to them. So what we did was we created some ideas based on what we were hearing were the needs of the teachers. And we developed different topics for them. At the elementary level, we did a wellness piece, we did a piece on setting boundaries, and we did a piece on small group instruction. At the secondary level, we did a piece about using feedback, making sure that your feedback is informative and giving feedback to students that is productive. And also, another topic was staff wellness, and the third topic was encouraging our students to be critical thinkers. And so we sent out a form to everyone who wanted to participate. So they had to choose one piece of professional development they wanted, and then they got to choose a snack, just like DoorDash. And we had a bunch of different choices, and we delivered their PD. It was a piece of paper that had QR codes with videos of different strategies and different things that they could try immediately in their classrooms, and they got their snack too. So we were DoorDash drivers driving to all the schools and delivering all of this food and professional development. And it was really great, and the staff really enjoyed it. So that's one of the ones that we're really proud of. This year we offered something called Sweet Support. So we had all that candy from our candy cart. So what we decided to do was offer different support days where we planted ourselves in a building, and staff members could come to us during their prep, lunch, before school, after school, whenever they had a minute to get support in entering our student growth objectives and professional development plans into Genesis. As for teachers, we migrated to this new platform for inputting these different things in this year. So there were some questions. We were able to sit with teachers 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes throughout the entire day. In some cases, we did do this during grade level meetings as well, but we made sure that we had support in all 4 buildings, and in the secondary levels, I know that you guys did it twice as well. We ran another program called, another event called Wins and Spins, and I think this is something we're going to do regularly because it really helped to build morale. The teachers, we again planted ourselves in the building for the day, and at any point, the teacher could come share their win. Whether it was a personal win, a win with a student, a win in their classroom, anything that they had to share that they felt was a success. And they just told it to us, and we wrote it down, and then they put their name on a little wheel. You can see the wheel in the picture there. And then at the end of the day, we were able to spin the wheel and give out some prizes like a duty coverage, a read aloud. I'll go into their classroom, read aloud a book, and donate that book to their classroom. We'll deliver coffee. So we had a bunch of different prizes. And what we did with that information is we shared it. We shared it with the other teachers, right? So anything that wasn't too personal, we shared a really great strategy. One of my favorite strategies that a teacher shared with me was that after her math lesson, she has 10 minutes of no questions. And she felt the need to put that into place because she felt like her students were becoming too dependent on her. After the math lesson, they would ask her the question, she would answer the question and get the answer, and she wanted to help build that resiliency, and she wanted them to help to get the answers on their own. So she instituted this no questions for 10 minutes, and after the 10 minutes, she'll help. But at that point, they had to ask a friend, or they had to find the answer in a different way. And so we were able to share all of those wins out with everyone else in the building. So teachers could also learn from each other, learn from one another. And that is one of the things that we really feel is the best form of professional development, learning from one another. We have pop-up PD where we'll, again, station ourselves in a building and talk about something specific for the whole day, and whenever teachers can come, they'll come down to a specific room. We have the teacher collaboration roundtables, and this was at the secondary level where Kiara had a bunch of teachers that taught at the same level. So, for example, she did an AP roundtable. So all the teachers, no matter what subject it was, if they taught AP, they could come and collaborate, share ideas, and share challenges, share things that were working. So we're really trying to create those opportunities for collaboration. And again, to speak to how we really think it's so important for teachers to be learning from one another, the pop-in parties, that's something that's happening right now at Ridge. There's been over 20 teachers that have opened up their classroom in the past 2 weeks to anyone. So the teachers have said, listen, you can come see my classroom at any time. And, these are some things that I'm doing in my classroom that might interest you. And then other staff members in the district have at Ridge, have the opportunity to, during their prep, go and visit that classroom. We think that is so important that teachers are really using each other to learn and to grow.
Another thing we do a lot is collaborate with administrators, and we really, really, really love that. We see ourselves as a team with all of the administrators, from central office administrators to every single building administrators, and I'm sure you'll see, if you see us, we have such a great relationship with them, and it's because we really do work closely, especially when it comes to creating, developing, and facilitating professional development. So we work closely with administrators for every time that there's an in-service. We bring ideas, we offer help or support. We participate in all of the district and building professional development committees so that we can also there bring the voice of the teachers that we work with, because as Vicky said, teachers really, when they meet with us, because it's anonymous and non-evaluative, they really open up. So we really are able, when we go to these committee meetings, to bring truly what the teachers need and present it to our administrators and present it to the rest of the staff that's part of this, and then build PD from there. We participate in all the grade level and department meetings, so that's a way for us to really get information, for example, from the department supervisor about what's happening in each department, so we'll always know what's going on and we're always ready to support those teachers. Another thing that we have worked on a lot, especially in the past 3 years, is working closely with our administrators to create and facilitate the staff college course that's mandatory for all our staff to cover our flex day. So that's something that we've really been involved with, creating different modules online during the pandemic. And again, that's where we really bring and share with administrators the needs of the staff so that PD is really geared towards obviously meeting our district goals, but also the teachers' need. So that's something that we're really proud of, our rapport with the administrators and our work with them.
Definitely a highlight is certainly working with the three of you. So I just have to say that they obviously bring a lot of energy, and one of the things that you're going to see is the result of that energy is what's behind me. So obviously I have monthly meetings with the three coaches, and one of the things we talk about, and one of the worries I will admit early on is, boy, how do we track and how do we know whether or not the program is working? Because one of the key components of the program is anonymity, that our teaching staff and our staff have to be able to trust coaches, and yet at the same time, when I meet with them, we've got to be able to identify trends that we're seeing with staff, and that's one of the great things about our monthly meetings is identifying those trends without revealing identities of staff. And yet, one of the things that we've talked about for years now is how to build what we call acceptance of the program, meaning you can utilize a coach and it doesn't mean there's a weakness. It doesn't mean that you're not a master teacher. It doesn't mean that we can't use help in a particular area. Everyone can use help or refinement in some area. And so that's right on to me or anybody else, we could always use some assistance. So I think that idea of acceptance is behind me. So in 21-22, last school year, and I just want to make sure we understand this number, 210 is the number of individuals they met with. So they met with 210 certificated staff, but oftentimes those meetings resulted with each individual in up to 7 meetings with each staff member because of the coaching cycle. So our certificated staff is around 532. So you're looking at, about a third of the certificated staff. And now already, and I'll talk about why that is, already this year, we're only in November, and we're up to 256 individuals they've met with. Now why? Well, a couple of reasons. First of all, we have a third coach, so that helps, right? We've added a coach. But the other thing is the outreach at the beginning of the year they've done. They've done a lot more outreach and what I would call quick coaching, meaning they're doing some 15, 20-minute quick hitters, meaning, hey, I'm going to sit in a staff room and talk to and be available for staff for SGO, student growth objectives. That might be a quick 15-minute conversation to work with a staff member. It doesn't have to be a 7-hour coaching cycle. So I think that flexibility and the understanding from staff that I don't need to invest 7 hours, I might need 15 minutes, I might need an hour. And so that's resulted in, so far, 256 staff. I would expect when we do report back, hopefully you'll have us back, we'll see a much larger number by the end of the school year. But I think one of the keys is, and for the public, what we'd want you to understand is that 2 goals really, in my mind. One is, obviously, we want to help improve our teacher and our staff morale around having a support system, but also their performance in the classroom. But the second piece, of course, is ultimately student achievement. But we want to be able to put teachers in a better position to help our students at all levels. And so I think that's where we have this additional tool in our toolbox in our district, and why we wanted to talk to the board about it and why we wanted folks to hear about it, because we are proud of it. And so that's really what I talked about already, the idea of continuing to grow this program, that acceptance around the program, which is building and growing. And the other thing that we've been doing is slowly making connections and learning, as other programs are learning from us, about coaching programs. Instructional coaching is big in the Midwest. It's made its way into New Jersey. There are several schools in New Jersey, districts that have it, but it's still a small number. And so continuing to learn from what other best practice programs are doing. And we've had other folks reach out to us. And then what I'd like to be able to do, certainly don't want to commit the board, but we'd like to be able to report to our board and our public annually about the success of the program and trends that we're seeing and impact that we're making, because the work that they're doing is really meaningful and impactful, and really, again, proud of the work that they're doing. So before we take questions from the board, I did want to leave you with this impactful quote from a staff member that went through the coaching program. Don't have to read it. I know it's long, but it does say a lot about the program. And I don't know if you noticed, but we sprinkled in those quotes, as I mentioned. I thought there was a very impactful quote from a 22-year veteran. Again, you're seeing folks with lots of experience utilizing us, not utilizing them, not just newer teachers. So with that, I'll ask for any board member questions, if you have any. We don't have a wireless. I'm sorry, we don't have a. Yeah. Can you just repeat the question? I will repeat the question. Yes.
I remember last year at one of our meetings, talked about the possibility of having a third coach and how excited some of the teachers were to hear about that. So I'm really happy to see that this has happened and how successful it is. I think that there's nothing better than being able to learn from people who are in the field with you all day long. They know exactly what you've experienced. And I also think it's just a safe,
So instructional coaching is for teaching staff members. So the anonymity piece is really that when a staff member is meeting with an instructional coach, they're not then reporting it back to administration. And so it's not really, I don't know that it's an opportunity for students, but I will say that some of the feedback that a teacher could share with a coach might be related to feedback they're getting from students. And so that's actually what Vicki talked about, which is that sometimes they're seeing trends because they're getting it from students through the teacher, and that they're reporting back to administration on it. But it's not really a vehicle for students to report to coaches necessarily.
Is there like a survey or something of the sort that any amount of students could take and provide feedback on basic classroom and such like policy that you instituted and provide how they felt that's really
I see. So you're saying, is there an opportunity for students to report back on a potential change that was made as a result of coaching? I see. That's interesting. I haven't heard anything about that in the research, but I'm going to look into that and see what we could find out. Yeah, that's a really good question. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I'm going to get out of your way.
See, now you guys are making us reflect, I think, with all these questions, because it's funny now, as you said, thank you, and as you said that, now I'm thinking, the scenario I just presented about working with the teachers on writing workshops, obviously those students know, and my president are asking for me to come back every Friday. So yes, I would love to take your suggestion, right, and maybe I can have, instead of me, I can have the teacher maybe present this idea, and the teachers could survey the students in a few months and see how the writing workshop went. So we could take it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In those instances where you go into a classroom, some of the coaching opportunities, the students would never know, because it's going to be, as they talked about, right, like they're in a staff lounge and maybe it's 15 minutes. But I think when a coach goes in and the students know they're there, that might be an opportunity. If there's a way for us to collect some kind of feedback that's anonymous, that's something we could consider, which, to your point about your example, working in that classroom with writing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, easy to do with Google. Yeah.
Okay, we're up to the superintendent's report. There are 3 items. Would someone like to make a motion for the 3 items? Ms. Singh, would someone like to second? Mrs. Gray? Mr. Markarian?
No, it's fine. So we have, the first item is approval for overnight travel for the annual competition for cheerleading, trip to Florida. We have several reports of school bus evacuation drills that we're required to approve with board action, and the HIB report for this month. Yeah.
Okay, why don't we take a roll call for that? Any questions about those items for Mr. Makarian? No? Okay, a roll call, please.
Ms. Schaefer,
Yes.
Ms. Gray,
Yes.
Ms. Singh,
Yes.
Ms. White,
Yes.
Mr. Khanna, Ms. Hira,
Yes.
Ms. McCune.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Makarian?
Okay, thank you. So obviously, we had an election day. We also had a Veterans Day, so certainly a shout out to all of our veterans and folks on active duty right now for their service. And a different service, of course, is service on the Board of Education. And it's a lot of work. So I wanted to really thank everyone that has been involved in the election process for Board of Ed. We had 3 seats for 3-year terms and several folks competing for those seats. And it's a significant undertaking to get involved in a Board of Ed election, obviously. And it's certainly putting oneself out there to serve your community. So I just want to thank everyone who was involved in that election, including Mr. Amin, Ms. Sisbak, and I apologize if I haven't gotten all these names correct yet, Mr. Molinari. We have a sitting board member, Ms. Singh, Ms. Blackman, Ms. Corrado, all were running in the 3-year terms. And then we had one-year term, Mr. Rascio, Ms. Smith, and Ms. Schaefer, one of our sitting board members, were involved in the election process for the 1-year term. So at this point, obviously, we have what the Somerset County Board of Elections is referring to as the preliminary unofficial results. As a note on their website, the official certification for the election results is on November 26th. So at this point in time, I certainly can't make any official notification with regard to the outcome of the election, but I wanted to take the opportunity to share these unofficial results and congratulate those members who have the highest votes in each of these categories. For the 3-year terms, I wanted to congratulate Mr. Amin, Ms. Sisbak, Mr. Molinari for being successful currently for having the most votes for the 3-year seats. And for the 1-year seat, Mr. Rascio has the highest votes there. So congratulations to these individuals. Thank you for your willingness to serve on the Board of Education. Thank you to all of the members of the community that were involved in the election process. And we look forward to swearing in our new Board of Ed members in January.
Thank you, Mr. Makarian. Okay, so we already did the vote. So we're up to public comment on agenda items. So if you have a public comment on something that's on the agenda, please state your name and address when you come up, and you can sign in on the clipboard afterwards. Oh, the clipboard is by the stairs, so after you do your comment.
How about now? Fantastic. So, a few weeks ago, over dinner, my daughter talked about...
Could you just please state your name and address?
The formalities, yes. Frank Klaus, Owens Court, Basking Ridge. So a few weeks ago over dinner, my daughter talked about a raffle one of her teachers was having earlier in the year. I thought this was a really innovative idea. She said that anyone who brings in a box of facial tissues would get a raffle ticket because their room didn't have any. And when they sent kids down to the nurse's office didn't have facial tissues either. And that started to concern me because I would like the teachers to be teaching, not solving the problems of facial tissues in the school. But I let it go because, mistakes happen. Recently, many of you may have seen that in the WAM's Sunday checklist from the PTO, I read that the school needs Lysol wipes. Please donate wipes to front office. So I was wondering what's going on. A few months ago, we discussed the fact that there is a $5 million buffer in a $105 million budget for unexpected emergencies. The kids need facial tissues. The kids need wipes. And we have $5 million. Who's not doing their job? I mean, is it the superintendent?
Hi, I'm sorry, excuse me, is this something on the agenda?
I'm about to get there.
Okay, just checking.
I'm about to get there.
Okay.
Is it one of his 2 assistant superintendents? Is it the WAM's principal? Is it the assistant principal? Maybe the 2 days a week assistant principal? Or maybe someone forgot to pay the supplier of these products. I know, and here comes that cut. We can blame Roderick McLaughlin because he's leaving anyway, and he's on the agenda for today. Wouldn't that be convenient for everyone? Clearly, I don't know who screwed up, but what is clear to me is that no one said the buck stops here and fixed this problem in time. And by in time, I mean before the teachers thought it was so bad that they had to start to source facial tissue. Well, the buck stops here with me. I'm Frank Klaus, and I'm saying it stops here. I took $150 and I went out to find facial tissues. If you're not familiar with it, I'll share my big knowledge with you. I went to a place called Stop and Shop. I would like to show you what $150 will get you at Stop and Shop. And then I'll tell you the good and the bad news about what I learned. So just 30 more seconds of talking, but first, if I could get some audience participation to help with my donation and to get my facial tissue donated here, I would really appreciate that.
Let me just finish. Stupid. Okay, thank you, sir. Your 3 minutes are now up.
Okay, so
And also, I would add that you had indicated that you were going to somehow refer this to the agenda, which you have not done at this point. So
Roderick McLaughlin is on the agenda.
This has got nothing to do with Mr. McLaughlin.
So just in closing.
No, sir,
I can close in the second.
all right, in a second, go ahead, close.
Okay, so first the good news. As you move the BOE meeting here from the PAC, we don't have to transport these. We're already in WAMs. The bad news is someone does owe me 103 raffle tickets.
Is there anyone else who has something on the agenda?
No, but could we ask that those please be moved so that we can see whoever comes forward to speak, because now they're blocking everything. Could you just move it, because you're going to block the next speaker with that? Like maybe move it to the side.
My name is Nicole Pavlin, 54 Beechwood Road, and I'll tell you exactly the part of the agenda, if you'd like to know. So Personnel Committee Report, item number 3, change in assignments. But first of all, I'd like to say how I appreciate the program presentation that I just saw.
Please, no comments from the audience, though, please, thank you.
Okay, yeah, I'll repeat that. So I really appreciated the instructional coaching program presentation, first of all. I thought, so I'm a parent of 2 kids in the district. I'm also an educator myself by trade. And I would have loved to have that program when I was a first-time teacher. It would have been amazing, so thank you all. And I love to see those kinds of programs going forward. And I love to see the teachers have time to teach. And to do that, I feel that the administration provides a great support for them. And I'd like to see a full administrative capacity in the future, especially if we have a large budget. And I feel like each administrative position is a small part of that budget. So I think we can all agree, everybody behind me, everybody up there, that we all would like our kids to be safe in school, and we all like a strong quality of education. And I feel that it's really important for our administrative staff here to have the support that they need, and it trickles down. So if you don't have the administrative support, then you may have less time to teach. So I know that there is a plan that the assistant principal from Ridge would be split between Ridge and Williams. And I understand that there's been a lot of thought into that process. And I would just like the board or the superintendent or both just to make some comment on that. And I'd like to know, first of all, essentially, why wouldn't the position just be filled if there was money already allocated for it? And then second of all, I'd like to know if it's not being filled and the position's being split from sharing, just where would that money be used for the remainder of the year? So those are really my questions. And I'd just like to see going forward that, the people see that it's important for schools to be run well to have the administrative capacity going forward. And that's probably about 3 minutes, so I'll stop. Thank you. I do? Okay. Well, I could sing you a song if you want, but or play the piano. I play the piano. So that's okay. That's okay. But thank you all for all your service. Thank you, everybody, for coming. And again, like I said, there's so much division right now, and I just feel like we can all come together on that we want high quality of education for our kids, and we want strong safety for them.
Okay,
thank you.
Is there anyone else for public comment on agenda items? Is there anyone in the Zoom? No? Okay, at this point, I'll close public comment on agenda. Okay, we're up to approval of minutes. There's one item. Would someone like to make a motion for that? Mrs. White and Ms. Schaefer. Any questions? Okay, could we have a vote, please?
Ms. Schaefer,
Yes.
Ms. Gray,
Yes.
Ms. Singh,
Yes.
Ms. White,
Yes.
Mr. Khanna, Ms. Hira,
Yes.
Ms. McCune.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, we're up to the Finance Committee. There are 5 items. Would someone like to make a motion for those? Mrs. Gray? Would someone like to second? Ms. Singh? I don't think there's a Finance Committee report because Finance is meeting later this week, but did anyone have any questions about those items? Okay, could we have a vote, please?
Ms. Schaefer,
Yes.
Ms. Gray, Ms. Singh,
Yes.
Ms. White,
Yes.
Mr. Khanna. Yes. Ms. Hira,
Yes.
Ms. McCune.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We're up to the Personnel Committee report. There are 3 items. Would someone like to make a motion for those? Ms. Schaefer? Or Ms. Singh? Does anyone have any questions? Okay, could we have a vote, please?
Ms. Schaefer,
Yes.
Ms. Gray,
Yes.
Ms. Singh,
Yes.
Ms. White?
Yes.
Ms. Khanna? Ms. Hira?
Yes.
Ms. McEwen?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, we're up to the policy committee. Did we have a report for that?
Policy last met on Monday, October 3rd, 2022, but I didn't get to report out on, at the last meeting. We voted on certain things, like the second reading of certain policies, where there were no changes, but these things that I'm going to discuss with you right now, we're not voting on it today. We're voting on it at the next meeting. And one of it is the calendar for the following 2025-2026 calendar, and there is a physical copy here that I think Nick left for everybody, so if everyone can just review it, and then we're going to vote on it at the next meeting. As far as first reading on certain policies, and it's been a bit, so it might take me a minute. Policy 0143.2, high school student representative to the Board of Education. The policy was just revised. We already have a student rep at our board meeting, and we've had some for a while. So our policy was just merely modified to align with the New Jersey statute regarding high school student rep at the BOE meetings, which is a new policy, that's a new statute that's been implemented. Policy 0163 deals with quorums. It was revised to clarify what happens when you have too many board members that are in conflict and can't vote on an agenda item. In that case, the board attorney will advise that the doctrine of necessity must be invoked. So that was the revision that was made on that one. Policy 1511, Board of Education website accessibility. It was revised just merely to comply with WCAG. Policy 2415, every student succeeds. It was revised to reflect that parents are notified what Title I services are available. Policy 2432, school-sponsored publications. That policy has been abolished, and it's been replaced with Student Journalism Policy 5722, which is a new policy. And this new policy basically discusses the balance of a student journalist's right to freedom of speech and expression. And the policy talks about essentially what students are allowed to write and the things that they cannot write, such as, for example, they can't write anything that is libelous, profane, an invasion of privacy, trying to create a disruption in school, violate state laws, etc. And the policy outlines the process that if a student does write something reflecting that is libelous, then this is what happens. So that's what this policy is about, and it basically involves, students involved in newspaper, yearbook, student body, and I believe that the individuals and the students that are involved in newspaper, yearbook, and the student body have had an opportunity to review this policy as well and to vote on it. Another policy that was revised is 3216, which has to do with dress and grooming. This policy addresses what teachers, administrators, support staff may wear to school, and basically teachers and staff are wearing things like jeans, things like that. It's not reflected in our policy, but it's on a day-to-day basis people are wearing it, so the policy was just revised to reflect that. Policy 3270, professional responsibilities. It just outlines and was revised to reflect what the basic responsibilities for school teaching members are. I'm not going to go into the details, but it's outlined in there. Policy 4216 also just goes with Policy 3216, which is dress and grooming, which is new. Policy 5513, care of school property, was revised. No substantive changes were made. Paragraphs 2 and 4 will be revised to incorporate references to vandalism of all school supplies and equipment in order to be consistent with other paragraphs. Regulation 5513 goes with Policy 5513. Policy 5517, school district issued student ID cards. New Jersey passed, we have student ID cards, but New Jersey passed a law that if you have student ID cards, New Jersey Suicide Prevention Hope Line information must be on the back of the ID card. So we basically implemented a policy that reflects that our district does issue student ID cards and that we will comply with the New Jersey law regarding having the New Jersey Student Prevention Hope Line information on the back of the ID. Since some of the IDs have already been issued, stickers will be provided to put the information on the back. That is it, and we will vote on this at the next meeting.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? No? Okay. So we're now up to curriculum.
No report.
Okay. And I think wellness is meeting.
Wellness is meeting this Wednesday.
Okay. And do you have any liaison reports? I know Tim isn't here. I don't think they even had a CSC meeting. Okay. So we're up to public comment on non-agenda items. If you're going to make a public comment, please tell us your name and address, and then you can sign in on a clipboard afterwards.
Hi, my name is Jane Conklin. I live at 110 Spencer Road. I'm a community member, parent, and a teacher within our district. As such, I'm particularly passionate about the climate and culture of our school system and community. I attend most board meetings, and I have the utmost respect for all of you who volunteer countless hours to better the lives of the children within the district. That being said, there are a few things that are concerning to me. The first incident happened at a board meeting a few months ago where the new health curriculum was being discussed. At that meeting, as well as prior meetings, it was mentioned numerous times that the only lessons that the students can opt out of are dissections and whatever component of the health curriculum that they choose. After all this was made clear, a current board member asked the question, can students opt out of history lessons? While I don't mind innocent questions, I fear that sometimes questions are asked to be divisive rather than to get actual information, since the information was made clear multiple times within the same meeting. At a subsequent meeting, that same board member was speaking about new curriculums and brought up the fact that she felt parents needed to be informed to be able to give input on various curriculums, including some topics such as the Holocaust, D&I, LGBTQ lessons. While I have no issues with parents being informed about what's going on, I would like to bring a teacher's perspective into the idea of parent input into curriculum. While there was a lot of debate over what should and should not be taught in a health curriculum, the time it took away from other responsibilities that the teachers had gives me pause. Hours of meetings, discussions, and trainings needed to take place. While that topic was sensitive, going forward, if we are going to include parent input, I would suggest including a few knowledgeable parents giving input at the beginning of the process. As the S-squared audit pointed out, there are often very loud stakeholders who may tend to be heard over the whole of the community. I feel that this sets the tone that teachers and administrators who went to college and grad school and have degrees specifically in these fields are not viewed as the experts in their field. Frankly, it feels demoralizing and disrespectful that there is so little trust in our expertise, not to mention all the extra time it takes to explain, re-explain, and justify everything we know to be educationally sound and researched. I generally prefer not to speak and to listen at meetings, so I have not spoken out, but this last point is where I just couldn't sit still any longer. There are local community members being threatened to be sued by a current board member for a letter to the editor that was written, which stated facts and asked questions about the intent of the comments. How do I know about this suit? Because it was posted all over social media, exactly what we teach our children not to do. The member of the board who chose to sue could have just clarified her statements, but chose this route instead. This concerns me because it creates fear for people who want to speak out, people who want to ask questions, and frankly, is a bullying tactic. My question is, isn't there a code of ethics when joining the board? How do we ensure the safety of the people who have questions or differing opinions from people on the board? I'm concerned for the culture and climate of our school and our town, and ultimately for our children, which is why we're all here. Thank you for your time.
Annika Forzani, Dawn Drive. I just wanted to piggyback on Ms. Conklin's statement. I was also concerned about Board Member Kristen Light's comments at the October 21st board meeting regarding parental input for social studies classes related to the Holocaust and DEI, for many of the reasons that Ms. Conklin already brought up. I feel it's vitally important that we let the experts, our teachers, design the curriculum, and this is especially important when it comes to topics such as the atrocities of the Holocaust. Certainly, there should be no weakening of that curriculum, and no student should be allowed to opt out of those lessons. What's equally concerning to me, however, is that when questioned about the meaning and intent of her comments in a letter to the editor, Ms. Light did not respond, but instead sent an intent to sue letter to the author of the letter, as well as to at least one person who posted the letter. I've actually read the letter to the editor several times, and I did not see any act of defamation in the letter. Instead, I saw a woman who, seeing the concerning rise of anti-Semitism in this country, and even cases of inappropriate behavior by students at WAMS, wants to ensure that Ms. Light and the rest of us understand the importance of a robust curriculum that teaches about Jewish history and the Holocaust, and who wants to be sure that all of us understand that it is the law and unquestionably the right thing to do. Over the past year, a number of Board of Ed members, as well as individuals in the administration, have been the target of outright lies by people in our community. Not too long ago, someone who has been attending these board meetings wrote a letter to the editor filled with lies about our current board president, yet published it under a fake name. Yet even in the face of these egregious acts, no other board member threatened a parent with a lawsuit. For a sitting board member to hire a law firm and file a letter like that strikes me as intimidation, harassment, and a violation of the First Amendment rights of members of our community. I'm shocked that a firm such as Cole Schatz would risk their reputation by threatening to file a frivolous lawsuit that so clearly infringes on constitutional freedoms. So I suspect that this may have been a rogue lawyer, perhaps a friend of Ms. Light, who wrote the letter. Do Ms. Conklin or I need to worry about being sued or harassed because we are expressing our concerns? Will well-connected or powerful friends of board members come after us? I think this is a very slippery slope and a dangerous precedent that needs to be taken very seriously. We can't walk on eggshells with this. Are there rules against board members intimidating and harassing members of the community who are questioning statements that were made in a public meeting? As a parent of 4 children, my primary concern is for the well-being of the children in the school, and that should be our combined focus. As parents, we should be able to share our questions and concerns without fear of retribution. I'm asking Ms. Light to end the nonsense of suing community members and focus on supporting our teachers and students as she was elected to do. Thank you.
Debbie Marcus, 16 Lafayette Lane. I had not intended to comment on this, but the previous speakers makes it seem required. This is the reference point that the board member was talking about. The course was audited to ensure alignment with new New Jersey state mandates, some of which are new, e.g. Holocaust law, LGBT and disabilities law, Amistad law, diversity and inclusion, AAPI instructions and support for state mandates was documented in the Atlas Rubicon. This was the notes that were provided by the curriculum committee that was referred to in the board member's comments. The poor grammar of the notes clearly suggests that some changes could have been made to the Holocaust curriculum. How anyone could construe someone asking about it as a comment as anti-Semitic is beyond me. As an observant Jew, I note that in places like Newark, the Anti-Defamation League, which is the Jewish group fighting anti-Semitism nationally, is currently fighting actual anti-Semitic incidences like recent changes in Newark that added an anti-Semitic book and removed a Holocaust book called The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. It was not crazy for a board member to ask for some transparency for parents about this. It also is a very legal thing to accuse someone of anti-Semitism, and it is appropriate, if necessary, for a person to choose, if they want to respond in a legal way as well. So let's please focus on issues that are relevant to our current curriculum and work together instead of accusing people of things when they're just exploring statements for the sake of making sure that our curriculum is thorough. Thank you.
Is there anyone else for public comment? Kristen, is there anyone online in the Zoom? No? Okay, at this point, I'll close public comment. Okay, so we're up to board forum. Did anyone have anything for board forum? No? Okay. So we're up to adjournment. Would someone like to make a motion? Ms. Singh and Mr. Khanna, all in favor? Okay.